Okay, so good evening, everyone, and sorry to keep you waiting. We've been doing this for 2 years. I don't know why it only happened this time for whatever reason. Yes, it's on, but it doesn't work. Yeah, so welcome to this 32nd episode of NERPS webinar series on the peace and sustainability nexus in the context of global change. And thank you for taking the time to join us today. And if you're online also, please accept my apologies for the delay. I am Sharifi, professor at Hiroshima University, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. And if this is your first time joining us, NERPS is a network of educators, researchers, and practitioners collaborating towards the advancement of peaceful and sustainable societies amidst global challenges. For today's webinar, we'll have a topic on the impact of climate change and hydroclimatic and other climate risks and vulnerabilities with strategies for resource-constrained smart cities in India. And we are honored to have Dr. Mandal from National Institute of Technology, Patna, with us today. Thank you for taking the time. Before starting, I'd like to give some housekeeping reminders. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared on our social media after the event. If you have questions or comments, please feel free to type them in the chat box. And of course, if you're present here, you can just raise your hand. Please just make sure to mention your name and also your affiliation. So I expect that the presentation of Dr. Mandal would be 30 to 40 minutes. And after that, we'll have about 20 minutes for discussions. Now I'd like to briefly introduce Dr. Mandal. Dr. Shailendra Mandal is an architect and city planner, presently working as an associate professor in the Department of Architecture and Planning, National Institute of Technology, Patna, in Bihar of India. He has completed his Bachelor of Architecture degree course from Bihar College of Engineering, Patna University in 2002, and Master of City Planning from Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur in 2005, and PhD from NIT Patna in 2018. He has over 18 years of teaching and research experience and more than 2 years of industry experience. He has done a number of research and consultancy projects with organizations like UNICEF, Ministry of Housing and Poverty Alleviation, Ministry of Railway, NOAA USA, and also GIZ. His professional and academic works focus on the discourse of climate change adaptation, urban resilience and sustainability, environment and ecology, coastal resiliency and sustainable urban planning, especially on how the locally embedded adaptation planning can be a driver to the transformation process of urban resiliency and sustainability. He has also been awarded a Fulbright Fellowship to work on climate change adaptation and urban resilience at the University of Arizona, USA, in the year 2013 to 14. He is an expert reviewer of first and second order draft of the working groups 2 and 3 of the IPCC, AR6, and also he has been nominated by the Indian government for the scoping meeting of special report on climate change and cities. So without further ado, I would like to invite Professor Mandal to give his talk on smart cities in India. Please give him a round of applause. Yeah. I think you do. It's enough. It's working? It's working.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Ayub, and thank you to the Hiroshima University for giving me an opportunity to share whatever the little research which I have done along with my student in my university. So I will not take further time, but I will say that thank you, and looking forward you will have something fruitful from my own research which I have carried out in the city where I teach, that the smart city of India is one of the smart city in India. So what I will be speaking, there are challenges in the smart cities, and that differs from country to country, from city to city, even from the society to society. So this is the one example from the India where we can see that how the smart city has amalgamated into the society. What is the social ethos and aspiration, and what are the smart cities aspiration to achieve that? So there is a the dichotomy which this research is trying to address that. So so these are the way which I will handle this one, but I will not take much more time because already we are being take. So talking about the climate change, uh, we already know that, and directly and indirectly we have experienced the change in the climate. If not directly, indirectly we have experienced that, and that has been proven by the scientific community that the climate change is happening, and many of the things is the result of the climate change. So if you look into the global average temperature from 1850 to 2019, in order to understand that, this because of the industrialization, that the CO2 emission, that the global average temperature has gone up. That already we know that, and then we can see that what are the consequences of that, the climate change is happening into this one. This is the again the planetary boundaries concept. In order to set the context setting, I'm just talking about this one. If you look into 2009, the three boundaries were crossed. When we say the boundaries were crossed, that means even though we will intervene into this one, we will not be able to get back sooner. It will take much more time. So in 2009, the three boundaries were crossed. In 2015, four boundaries were crossed. In 2023, the six boundaries were crossed. The planetary boundaries I'm talking about. And the climate change is about to cross that also. So I'm just telling you, even though we will do something for the planetary boundaries which has been crossed, it will take many more years to come back. So in that context, if you look into the climate change, we have time to intervene and try to come back into the normal position. That's why we talk about the climate change, and IPCC and United Nations takes a lot of effort in order to influence the policy maker to do something to come back into that original position. So if you look into the every region around the globe, you will see that each one of us is being affected by the climate change, and it has been documented scientifically into the IPCC AR6 assessment report, which I got opportunity to review also. So if you look into the global sea level rises around the globe, that the sea level is rising, and then the kind of population is being affected and it will be affected, that also depicted into the IPCC. So point here I'm making is that even though the some country or some society is contributing in order to take care of the climate change, and somewhere in the planet is not doing that the precautionary measure, it is going to felt here something. So it is also called in the physics like the butterfly effect. If something happening is the Indian Ocean is going to affect in the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean. So this is the things which is a worrisome of the researcher also. This is a very important slide. If I have to pick only one graph from the IPCC 6 assessment report. So this will be the my one graph from the IPCC 6 assessment. It shows everyone on this planet is going to be affected. If any child is born today, so what he or she is going to face in the during his or her lifetime, what kind of climate is going to face, and what will be the consequences all. So it is very proven scientifically that even though child will be born today is going to face something. If someone has born 20 years back, 30 years back, is also facing the impact of the climate change. So it's a very crucial graph which set the direction of the IPCC, how IPCC will influence the policy maker. That's why you might have heard also in the all COP that they try to influence the government to do something for the society and all. And that also depends on the kind of resources they have and the kind of the access to finance they have, because that also depends on the governance and the access to the resources and access to finance. That we'll talk when we'll have the time to this one. So this is all we know, that sustainable development goal, and it is being said that if we are trying to address the issues of the climate change, then the 60 to 70% of the sustainable development goal would be somehow directly or indirectly would be addressed through this one, because each one of the goal is directly or indirectly associated with the climate change. And if we are not going to take care of that, it is going to affect the climate changes. We'll see one example which I will be talking about this one. So now I am narrowing down into the India, because I'll be talking about the one of the smart city of the India. So that was the global scenario. And if you look into the Indian scenario, these are the right side. If you see that these are the 4 paths scenario. That means one is the low emission, one is the as usual, one is the higher, one is the highest emission. The kind of aspiration that the one country have. If suppose India wants to become a developed country very soon, then we are going to experience the high emission scenario, because development will cost the environment as well, apart from the other things. So at any pace that we are having the high emission scenario, at any pace we are going that. So and that will lead to the contribution into the climate change. And looking into the global water stress, again, India, even though we have the water resources, our water resources is having the stress on the water resources in order to fulfill the water demand. Either it is for agriculture purposes, meet the industry demands, or meet the potable water, whatever is there. So if you look into the water stress, almost very few state live behind, then other state is having the water stress problem. And I am talking about the Bihar, where the stress level is high to medium. That is this side of the Bihar. That is the state which I'll be talking about. So if you see whatever the visually which we have seen and the graph, it clearly shows that the all over the around the globe, that the people are going to see that the impact of the climate change. And if you look into the kind of impact the people is going to face, definitely I mentioned about the access to resources and access to finance. The developing country is going to face the many problems, because they have the vulnerable population. Their strategic location also plays a very important role. And then the plan and policies, the resources, kind of resources they have, they may not be able to address the issues which is being addressed, the issues by the developed country, which we will see into this one. So after conducting the research in that city, what we have found that the 2 component plays a very important role. when we talk about the hydroclimatic risk or the vulnerability. That one was the increase in temperature, the where we are talking about the cities. It is being said in IPCC also 1 to 2 degrees in mean average temperature is increased. Is a huge, and the IPCC is trying to restrict at 1.5 degrees centigrade. And in order to do that, European Union and the other developed nation is trying very hard to at least restrict it to the 1.5 degree. Even though we will not be able to restrict the 1.5 degree, we are going to see the consequences very soon. And we have experienced in India that this time the summer was very hotter. And that kind of temperature would prevail in the Europe, that the mortality rate will be very high. So just point here I'm making is that the extreme, the event, the frequency has come up that the frequency has shortened up. Earlier it was the 50 to 100 years. Now it is a 10 years, 5 years, the frequency is there. That is the serious concern, because that frequency will pose the different challenges and the threats to the governance. So increase in temperature and then the precipitation trend. That too is a very crucial when we talking about any developing countries, because the again access to resources and the access to finance. Then there is the climate resiliencies. I will not go about the more definition and all. That's the resiliency is like that when you get back to the normal, when you are exposed to the any events into the simpler form. So what are the benefits? If you look into the climate resilience, there are the economic benefits, there is the environmental benefits, and then the social benefits. And unless until we will not address it, addressing the sustainability is not a themes to address it. So what we try to do is that we have just ICLEI is the local, that the international NGOs that the working on the urban local bodies, and the ACCRN, that is the Rockefeller Foundation, the Asian Cities Climate Change Resilience Network. What they have tried to do is that they have the process in order to make the any cities the climate resiliency plan. So we try to follow this one. And that also we'll talk if you are interested, and we'll see that how it works in the different context, because it's a very context specific, very geographically governance and the society specific. So what we try to do is that we that is called as a shared learning dialogue, where we ask the stakeholder to come, and then we discuss about do you feel that it is happening? Are you feeling comfortable or discomfort? Are you feeling something unusual or something usual? So this is a kind of shared learning dialogue where the scientific input has been given to the participant in order to capture their vulnerability. So in this metropolitan city of Patna, what we did, we tried to involve many stakeholders to capture what are the hydroclimatic risk, vulnerability they are experiencing. Not we are assessing it, rather than they are participating and they are pointing out if these are the things we are experiencing it. So the other way, the science is reaching out to the society in order to give them the solution. That we try to do into this one. So that we have already talked about, and just I'm giving the brief about the cities of Patna where we have conducted this one. I'm just moving slide little bit further because I'm just trying to finish it within the 30 and 40 minutes. Then we'll have the conversation, then things will be more fruitful. So if you look into the city of Patna, it is in the northeastern part of India. And it is the second largest city in the eastern India after the Kolkata. Kolkata is a big city, and after that is Patna is the second largest city. The reason here I'm talking about this city is growing very linearly, because north side which you see is the river Ganges, and the south side is the river Punpun is there. So these two rivers is not allowing city to grow in a north-south direction. Rather, it is going in the east-west direction. That's the one constraint that the city is facing. The other is that the population of city is like now it has crossed the 2 million population, but we have not. Um, uh, Census has not been released because of the corona and then the governance issues, but it has crossed the 2 million population right now. And we have that city is having around 100 square kilometer of that area. So you can imagine the 100 square kilometer of area and more than 2 million population, how dense it is. And then if you look, talking about the ward, the city is comprised of the 72 wards, and the 72 wards is being governed by the each ward councillor, and then the city administration take care of the each ward individually, what is their problem and all. And overall literacy is 83% with the male, and the female is 87%. The female literacy is 80, I think 79, and 87 is this one, and grossly it is 83 one. So if you look into the past hazards and the climatic events, the city is vulnerable in terms of the earthquake, and in terms of the other hazards, the city has experienced the extreme events like the extreme event in the temperature, the precipitation also, which we'll talk about in this one. So what, in order to understand what the climate change impact would be there, it's better to have the past record in our in front of us, so that we can understand how the city is responding and how city is being impacted. So if you look into the past, maximum average temperature and the minimum maximum temperature, it's both the trend is having the rising trend. That means minimum temperature has also gone up, and then the maximum temperature is also grown up. The minimum temperature is grown up, it has a very direct relation with the population, built up masses. If the more built up masses is there, the minimum temperature has gone up, because the heat gain would be retained by the built up masses, and gradually it will be released. So sometime what happens, that also problem, if it is released by the time the again heat the sun rays come, then it becomes a cyclic process that is happening in the other part of the country. So that means that the temperature is going up. Then what we did, we have tried to project the population. So here we have taken the scenario of the 4.5. 4.5 is the as usual scenario. The city will grow as it is growing. We have not taken the extreme scenario. We have not taken the cities which will force the development in a very uncontrolled way. So as usual scenario is the scenario where we are assuming that the city will grow like this only. And if you look into this one, as usual scenario is 4.5. It's an ensemble of 45, the model, that is ICRC codex that we have used into this one. And then you can see that the maximum temperature is also rising up. That is a serious concern. In as usual scenario, it should not show the rising up. If the development would occur, then it has a rising up. It makes sense. But without taking the development as a core one, and if it is rising up, then it is a serious concern for the administration as well as the researcher also. That was the things which we thought, okay, we will address this one. Now coming to the precipitation trend. The precipitation, the Patna receives the good amount of the rainfall because we have the monsoon season. The worrisome is that that the intensity of the rainfall, the shorter span of the time is the maximum intensity rainfall. That is the concern, and that leads to the different kind of problem. Like we'll see that. So if you look into this one also, as usual scenario we have taken, it is showing up the very unusual pattern, the rising trend, and then we can see that the very intense that the rainfall is also depicting in as usual scenario. If you look into the 4.6 scenario, 8.6 and 6.5, then it will have the more impactful scenario into this one. So these two risks, increase in temperature, the second is decrease in number of rainy days, but increase in intensity and rainfall events. So what we did, we tried to identify the fragile system into the three core areas, and the core area we have chosen the solid waste management. The second one was the drainage, and then the third one was the sewage. If you look into the solid waste, why we have taken this one, the solid waste management itself is a concern for the urban local bodies, and then we are looking into the how urban that the climate change is going to impact into this one. So if that the solid waste is not going to manage properly, then the climate change is going to pose the different threat to the urban solid waste. Why? Because the temperature increase and then the intense rainfall, that will lead to the again different kind of scenario. So if you look into this kind of management, although now city is trying very hard to manage this one, they are going to door to collect this one. They are trying to implement the satellite based collection center where they can assure that has been collected properly, but still it has long way to go into this one. So, so what is the fragile statement for this? The solid waste management is like the increase in temperature, and that would lead to the greater degree of health hazards like the decomposition rate and the dumping waste will lead to the different kind of problem. And if the increased intensity of rainfall is there, that could lead to the contamination of groundwater and the surface water. Here I forgot to mention that this city is mostly relying on the groundwater, and groundwater is the accumulation of the centuries of many decades and 100 years of the water is being accumulated. And if it is being contaminated, then it's a disaster for any city around the globe. So now coming to the sewage, again, 80 to 85% household uses the septic. That means that the good sewage system is not there. And then if sewage system is not good, and then the two issues again, that the increase in temperature and the intensity in the rainfall, that again lead to the different kind of problem. What is the problem? That the increased temperature will facilitate the release of noxious gases and fall order from the stagnating the sewage, and that allow for the proliferation of the harmful microbes. That will lead to the again health. The climate and health, again there is another issue, and it has a very strong nexus. We'll talk about this. Then increase in rainfall intensity, again that will lead to the overflow of the existing sewage line, and then result in the again water and vector borne disease, and that is being recorded also in documented also. Even the monsoon season is there, that the vector borne disease patient has a. Then coming to the stormwater drainage, again the conventional planning based on the any cities in the developing countries, even though some of the developed countries, so they go for the conventional planning. They assume that what will be the demand, and then based on that demand they design that this drainage pattern and all. But now that system does not work anywhere on this planet. Why? Because that the climate change put further stress onto that one. That the population demand is the another one, and the another one is putting by the climate change, because extreme rainfall is there. That has been not calculated by the any engineer or municipal administration or anyone, and that has come into this one. So this lead to the again the different kind of problem, and that was the problem. You can understand if this is the situation, then the increase in rainfall that affects the sewage very much. So what we did, we tried to map the through the sensitivity, vulnerability, exposure, and adaptive capacity. We try to capture the what the stakeholder perceive that. So in order to take care of the solid waste management, these number words, people say that we have been affected by the climate change, either increase in temperature or in the intensity of the rainfall. So these were the people who experienced it, and they urged us to capture this number of wards needs the attention in order to take care of that. There were the different wards, they were not being affected. We'll see that how, which kind of societies are living there, what is the topography of that ward, that also affect this one. If the topography is higher, then extreme rainfall is not going to affect the person who is living in that ward. But if it's a low lying area is there, then it is going to affect that one, and that is the scenario they are into this one. Then coming to the fragile urban system into the sewage, these were the people, uh, the stakeholders, different stakeholders. They said the our ward is vulnerable when we talk about the sewage system, because we felt that even when the extreme rainfall is there, our ward was flooded with the water. We are not able to manage it. Then coming to the drainage, these were the this one were captured by this one. This was captured, I mentioned, with the share learning dialogue, where the participant were participated, and then we discussed, and then we argue. Like, no, you don't think it's happening each year? Why you are contributing into the climate change and all? No. They says no. Each year it was happening, but this was more than the expected one. So we perceive that because of the extreme temperature, this happened into this one. So what we did after this, when we took this data, so if you look into so overall, if you look into the study which we conducted, like the each of the ward either is being affected by the one fragile system, yeah, other fragile system. That means they are vulnerable either with the extreme temperature, yeah, extreme rainfall. So they experienced that they shared this one. Then coming to the specific, the ward number 30 and 31 were identified as the most vulnerable hotspot because they were impacted by the all fragile urban system, and their density is also very high, because density is high, and they were affected by this one. Then what we did, we made that the vulnerable hotspot map of the smart city of the Patna, where we depicted that these were the areas where we can categorize that the vulnerability is lowest and vulnerability is highest. What does it mean? It shows the urban local bodies to target the highest, the most vulnerable, highest vulnerable areas first in order to address the issues of the climate change. Then you can go to the medium and then go to this one. So this gave the clear indication to the city administration to how to go ahead with this one. Then again, based on the adaptive capacity of the governance, which I mentioned, the adaptive capacity of the governance also depends on the kind of resources they have, yeah, kind of resources they have access to in order to manage this one. So we look into the all the perspective, and then we chalked out some of the measures, like we give the scoring, and based on the scoring, which will be the good one, which will be the not good one, what are the plan and policies going into the cities, which plan and policy will help this the resiliency and this one, which plan and policy does not support that, and how to take advantage of the development plan. These all things has been explored into this one. Then what we did, we tried to make some of the recommendation for the urban local bodies based on the infrastructure development, and both based on the non-infrastructure development, like the policies recommendation into this one. And based on that, we have chalked out the wards number. If you are going to do this, then this number of wards will be affected. So you will be able to address the issues of this one. And then who all will be the responsible, who will be the supporting into this one. These all the list which we have made. And then we have chalked out which responsibility will be whom, then who will be taking care of what. And then overall, the resiliency plan was developed for the city of the Patna. and then the total 32 resiliency intervention has been identified, and each intervention possible co-benefits were also outlined into that the study. What will be the co-benefit into this one? So this, like the one is establishing the dry wards, secondary waste collection centers in the selected wards. Means once would be collected and the secondary would be collected from the first point to the second point, and then the we also explore the ideas of the vermicomposting. We also explore the decentralization of this one. Can we have the awareness program for the each householder? Can we have the city administration when they are making the administration that the sewage plan or drainage plan? Can they look into the future projection of the climate, where they can increase the capacity of the carrying capacity of the sewage and drainage, that one that also has been recommended. So these were the some of the intervention. And then what we try to do to link into this one, if you look into the climate change performance around the globe, then it gives the very clear cut indicator that the India stands seven all over the world, where they are trying to address the issues of the climate change. That is a very good indicator when we see as a country. So can this indicator would be useful in order to address the issues which we are trying to do into the smart cities? Of course, that was the one of the things. And then what we try to do that mm, high cost, medium cost, low cost, and how this is going to benefit the smart cities of that the cities. Then under solid waste management, there are different things which we have recommended, and we also said that these are the very rudimentary measures at a stakeholder level. This is not very the high tech intervention. It's a very rudimentary one, but in order to do this rudimentary one, it is having the byproduct in order to address the issues of the impact of the climate change. That was the things which we kept in my mind, and our group also try to address this one. If we do the little things, like the we say now, if we can change our behavior, ultimately it will lead to the addressing the issues of the climate change. So 21st century, if you look into this one, it is all interconnected. We cannot say that it's only the water, we can address the issues of the water solely based on the addressing the issues of the water. It's all interconnected, and in order to address the issues of any concern, we need to look more holistically to the entire concern. Then only we will be able to provide the solution. It's not only with the water problem. It's a problem of the natural resources, the problem of the watershed management, it's a management of the people, it's a city, it's a governance, it's the society, it's the NGOs, it's all is interconnected. So in order to do that, we need to address the issues more holistically. And if you further dissect into that problem, then again it's a very interconnected problem. When we talk about the climate change, that means anything we are trying to address, even though we are trying to address the issues of the sea level rises, it has a very strong influence of the land temperature into the sea temperature. And if you are trying to address the land temperature, then the sea temperature is going to play a very important role. Even though the land temperature and then the atmosphere temperature is going to play a different role based on the CO2 emission, based on the kind of interaction it is being carried out at a different latitude and longitude. So point here I'm making here is that so anywhere, if you are trying to address the issues of the climate change, then we always have to look into the more holistic and the symbiosis way in order to address this one. And with this, I just want to say thank you and Adhikado into this this one. And if you have any question, a comment, or anything to discuss, I'll be happy to just share what we did into our study.
Thank you very much, Professor Mandal, for the very insightful talk. think we have about 15 minutes for discussions. So I think I will start with questions from the audience here. Please feel free to raise your questions. And if you don't mind, please allow me to use this.
Yeah, please.
We might have online questions as well.
Please.
Yeah.
So,
So, are there any questions here? So, yes, please.
Thank you for your presentations. I'm Hani El-Shimi. I'm a visiting professor at Hiroshima University, originally from Egypt, and I got my PhD here since last 21 years back. So come to the issue of the climate change. It is a hot issue nowadays, and as you mentioned, Dr. Mandel, it's interconnected with all life aspects like health, whatever, water, and other issues. So also you mentioned about the effort of the United Nations, which is always having the conferences calling COP. So previously, just last year, we had a COP in UAE, okay, and it's coming this year in Azerbaijan.
Baku.
Yes. So, but do you think the effort of the United Nations it is enough just to reduce the risk of the climate change issues? Because it is really interconnected, and we need such kind of the decision from the policymakers in the government regarding this issue as well. Because as you have seen, the major issue for the climate change is the emission of the carbon dioxide. It's not only carbon dioxide, but it's come another gases from like methane from the livestock as well. So, do you think in order to reduce this emission of carbon dioxide, we need just to deal with agriculture aspects as well, or even in the green area? So Africa, in nowadays, they do have much more green area, and they did not just had a lot of emission of the carbon dioxide, but other industrial countries like China, United States, and even India as well, they are sharing and contributed very much for the emission of the carbon dioxide. So, from your point of view, what if those governments can just put the scenario or the policy to reduce the risk of the climate change issue? Thank you.
Thank you. I think you asked the question. I think the better it would have been if I would have been in the United Nations, but still I had an interaction with many of the United Nations, the researcher. Your question is, if I look from the perspective of the people who lives in the Asia and Africa, then I would say that United Nations has not done sufficiently enough to address the issues of the climate change. Why? The reason is that because we still contribute very less into CO2 emission. If you talk about the Africa and the Asia and any developing nation, and all developed nation, they contribute more into the CO2 emission into this one, and we are facing all because of the CO2 emission is being added into the environment. But at the same time, I would say also that the all government is taking their action as per their countries and as per their society demand. They are not there. We are not supposed to be very aggressive in order to address this one, because our societies are not developed yet. Because we still fight with the poverty. We still fight with the access to the food. We still fight with the access to the accommodation. Homelessness is there. But at the same time, I would say I had been to Africa and the Kigali. Rwanda is one of the good example in the world who has shown to the world how the climate change issues can be addressed properly. And that is in sitting in the Africa. And the Kigali has shown to the world, okay, we can do something different. Why not the other nation can do it? So that also depends on the people participation, then the government and the governance issues and the government one. But I would say that United Nations has not taken genuinely effort in order to tackle the issues of this one, because it is still being more aggressively participated at the developed country, and they want to safeguard their interest in order to take care of the climate change. They are telling that the technology will be transferred. When the technology transferred, they don't give the support to run the technology. I've seen that the many of the technology is being transferred in the Africa, especially Uganda and Ghana and all those things. When they don't run that, they don't get the support from this one. And I don't know the finance, they are talking about the adaptation planning fund. In order to, they will fund the finance the developing nation business entities in order to address this one. But that has not been successful also. Let me tell you this one. As per COP, the last year also, in the China and the India also said we will not be doing it by 2045. We'll take the more years in order to take the address of the issues, because we have the other things to address this one. Because the United Nations main mandate is to access to the minimum need to each and every one, and that should be fulfilled first. And many of the countries, developing countries, still they don't produce the many CO2 and all. So it's a like kind of the butterfly effects. The one person is consuming more, the other person has to pay, but even though they don't have the capacity to adapt. So that's the way the United. And the other thing is also, I will not go into more detail, but the other thing is also that the WMO, the World Meteorological Organization, the first time the global south is being represented in the WMO, that the lady from the Argentina, she has won the Secretary General election this time. Otherwise, it was always being held by the developed country representation. Unless until the participation from the global south will not be there, it will not be solved anywhere. We need to look into that, what the other perspective, other people think about into this one. That has to be integrated into this one. And in the technology transfer, it has failed in some of the areas, that the country were not able to do that. So I would say that the taking the effort, but not at that pace which is needed in order to address that. That's my answer.
Any other questions here?
Yes, Prince, please.
Please keep the questions short as much as possible.
Thank you very much, Doc. My name is Prince, and I'm affiliated to IDEC. Yeah, so I get from your presentation that the Patna city, smart city concept actually is at the proposal level. So you are now developing a smart city in the city area, and with your research, you've been able to identify some risks that is affecting or will affect the city itself, and then you gave some interventions. So, and I'm asking this question actually because I saw that you talked about co-benefits of some of the interventions, or you propose some co-benefits. But I'm looking at, since you are trying to develop a smart city and you have some intervention, is there anywhere where the implementation of some of these interventions can cause some trade-offs between themselves in future or in the long term? And since you are looking at smart cities where technology and digitalization and all those things will come in, do you or have you looked at those things to look at probably some trade-offs or some conflicts that can happen when you start implementing some of these interventions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prince. I think you have asked the very relevant question. Again, the smart city, the concept itself says that it varies from country to country, because we look from the smart cities, of course, the IoT, information technology, and the technology plays a very important role when you talk about the smart cities. And this is one of the smart cities where lot of being done in order to address the issues of the smart cities. But this project, what has given to the smart cities, that unless until we are not able to address the issues of the vulnerability and the risk, the technology intervention is not going to play a vital role in order to support that city to the smart. So at a stakeholder, at a society level, they need to first think of the risk should be addressed first, their vulnerability should be taken second, then the intervention of the smart, as called the IoT and the other blockchain, whatever the technology it is there, they should support them in order to come out from this the vulnerability and the risk, and then they address the issues of the climate change also. So what this study has done it, they have given the trigger point to the urban administration, the smart city administration, okay, we are going to integrate the technology into the cities, but simultaneously we need to address these issues as well. There are different department who takes care of this one, and that department is not working in the silos, rather than working in a very coordinated way in order to take care of the technology this one. So in that way, it is trying to address this one, but still, I would say it has to go a long way in order to accumulate the each component of the smart cities in order to address this one. The reason I took this one is that the one thing is that even though we talk about the smart city, we have the plenty of surface water, we are not using it. It's good to use the surface water first, and if some stress arises, then we can tap the groundwater second. But due to the technology transfer, the cost, the capacity, we feel that using the groundwater is safe and cheaper than using the surface water. So it's a very context specific and very geographically the society ethos and the governance specific. But of course, it plays a very important role to the city administration, how you are going to deal with the smartness as well as the basic issues simultaneously.
Any other question? No.
Thank you. Thank you, Sensei, for your presentation. I'm quite interested about the method because I'm a student at Hiroshima University, and I'm actually working with something similar. So if I understood correct, you use perception of the people that to understand the level of vulnerability, or also those results were validated, the level of vulnerability were validated with actual data of the different areas.
Okay, again, this was not based on the perception, rather than based on what they have experienced. So this map was made in order to just capture what they have experienced. So not the perception. Perception might vary also. For me, even though the climate change, if I have access to the air conditioning, even though high temperature may not be affecting me. But here what we did, we just tried what you have experienced. That we have captured. That is called as a shared learning dialogue. If you have access to the ICLE, any South Asian document, you will get it. If you don't get it, then you can send me an email. I will send you that. The shared learning dialogue is that where you invite all the stakeholder, and then you know already, because the scientifically you have done the assessment, but you just try to validate it whether it is correct or not, because you have done with your own scientific, like how many days the water were there, what is the population, what is the density, what is the topography, what is the DEM, what is the kind of socioeconomic profile, that you know already. But in order to validate that, we have just asked them to participate into the shared learning dialogue, where they have chalked out, no, we have experienced this one, we have experienced this one. In many of the cases also happened, many of the areas were just cut out, because that is a regular phenomena. Each day they were experiencing. They were not experiencing all because of the climate change, because of the city's own profile, because of the city's own way of dealing it. They have experienced. So that's that way we have discussed. And there were the city administration were also there, the NGOs were also there, the activists people were there, the societies people were also there. So it was a common after shared learning dialogue, then one common agreed, okay, these is the areas where we need to focus on them by consensus in the later stage when we captured, and that was validated by the kind of data we had.
Yeah, thank you. So we have also some online questions. One is from Francis from Hiroshima University. He wants to know, how can data-driven technologies and smart city solutions be effectively integrated to address hydroclimatic risk in the context of limited resources? So you partly addressed it when responding to Chris, but if you have something to add to that.
I think I have addressed it. I would only add this one is when we talk about the smart city, of course, data plays a very important role. And we the more the data we have, we will be more efficiently and effectively able to address the issues of the any smart cities. So people participation plays a very important role in order to capture the risk and the kind of the vulnerability they are facing into.
The other one is about high-rise buildings. This is from Aurora. And the question is that, is building tall a solution to the problem stated? What we see in New India is an increasing number of skyscrapers. And in my opinion, the vernacular architecture was a better way of tackling climate change. What would you say?
It's already I have spoken, but I would again add also here is the skyscraper came when the land become a very costly, land become very restricted. We don't have the space to develop this one. The other way is also looking into that vernacular architecture. This is the one of the solution, but that also depends on the what kind of practices we carry in the vernacular architecture. That also depends on, because we need to have the access to each and everything. So it's again it's a question of dichotomy, like how the vernacular architecture things can be integrated into the building design. The passive solar architecture, passive solar cooling system can be one of the solution way out to going vertically and giving solution to that this one. And many of the good example is there, the vertical greenery, vertical garden, the roof garden, and all those things are trying to do address this one. Yes, shading devices, how do you design the shading devices where the impact would be less or not. And that also depends on the what kind of the bylaws are there. If bylaws allows that, then only they build it.
And finally, this is anonymous. What specific infrastructure adaptations are essential for smart cities in India to effectively mitigate the impacts of hydroclimatic risks such as flooding and drought?
I think I have given this answer into that our presentation. As I mentioned, anything which is planned for the city's need is based on the future projection of the population, and that based on the future population, we calculate this will be the design into this one. But this is not conventional planning is not going to solve our problem, because only calculating that this will be the future population and this will be the demand. Like in Indian case, the population is this much, 135 liter we provide the water, you multiply by this much number of population, and this is will be the carrying capacity. No, there we need to also include the stresses is being posed by the climate change, like this, the intense rainfall, the capacity of the carrying of that the pipes, that should be also designed in such a way when intense rainfall is there, that to take care of the urban flooding, so that needs to be taken care of. That is also called as a very integrated way address the issues into this one. Otherwise, we will not be able to. Even though any cities, only the population demand is going to solve going to make the infrastructure is not going to solve that. We need to add the stresses being posed by the climate change, by the environment. And if we add that and we can design this one, that will be the more resilient infrastructure rather than the only population is going to take care of that.
Thank you very much, Professor Matthew. This was very insightful talk, and I think after the session, maybe if some participants have questions, you can have follow-up discussions. But in the interest of time, I would like to close the session now. But before that, on behalf of our director, Professor Kaneko, and also IDEC Institute Director, Professor Ichihashi, I would like to thank you once again. And these are just small certificates of appreciation for your great talk. So the first one is from Professor Ichihashi, the Director of IDEC Institute. Thank you very much for the talk.
Thank you very much.
Please don't forget because yes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2.
Thank you. And the second one is from Professor Shinji Kaneko, the Director of NERPS. Again, we appreciate your taking the time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And also, I would like to invite you to join our next event. I think I try to promise that next event will be run smoothly and on time. We'll have the next event on July 8th, and this will be a talk on emotional bridges to lasting everyday peace. So please attend that event. And also please visit our website at nerps.org. And I would like to invite you to attend our next NERPS conference that will be held next year in the Philippines, next month. Thank you, and look forward to see you again.
Thank you very much.